Hello and welcome to the Wow Show, an hour full of stories from and for truck drivers on the road. We're going to have fun saying thank you for who you are and what you do as drivers. And we're going to talk to some people who know their stuff so that we can learn more. My name is David Binyachek. I'm your host. Let's get started. Hey there, Canada. It is David and the Wow Show. Happy Monday to you. I hope life is good on the road, that you're enjoying summer, that all is safe, that your family's happy and well, that the sun's shining on the hood of your truck today and shining on your soul. On today's Wow Show, we have a very cool interview that we're going to kick things off with, Bernie and Cheryl Friesen. And this is sort of a memorial interview. Their son, Aaron, was killed a few years back in his truck. 5 or so kilometers, just a few kilometers away from getting home. Fell asleep at the wheel, and his truck went off the road, overturned, and what the paramedics told Bernie, who was the first person to arrive at the scene, that he would have died instantly in that. And they're here to share that story. It's a story of love. Aaron's their adopted son, and you're going to hear that story, and it's a cool story, a story of faith. So this family is a huge a family of faith. They rely on faith. It gets them through. They wouldn't have gotten through without faith to what happened to Aaron and the surrounding circumstances. And then it's a story of the trucking community and why I celebrate the trucking community and how the trucking community just came huge to the rally and support of Cheryl and Bernie in their time of loss. And so we're going to spend an hour talking with these beautiful people in Manitoba, talking about that story. Also on the line is Ty Jam, who was a really good friend of Aaron's, Big Mack, as they called Aaron, Big Mack Friesen. And Ty Jam, who is the founder of All Out Big Rigs, No Limits on Facebook, one of the organizers of that group, was one of the many good friends that Aaron had and really appreciated him. So he's going to be on the line, and actually he's going to be a big part of the interview in terms of talking with Cheryl and talking with Bernie and just recalling the memories of what happened and what happened after and what continues to happen. This story continues to unfold as the legacy that Cheryl and Bernie have in the lives of Aaron's friends is pretty big. And so I'm excited for you to hear that interview. When we're done that, 3 things. Number 1, Bar J Shop Talk. Dave James, Bar J Mechanical in Balzac, Alberta, is going to be on with another version of Bar J Shop Talk, this time talking about filter maintenance on your truck. Love this shop, love this family, just integral, common sense, and quality repairs to your truck and trailers. And he's, as a sponsor of the show, I appreciate it. He's been willing to put together these little segments. It's like 3 minutes long, today's segment, that can really help you save money, prevent larger expenses down the road by walking through some things that are just good things to do in terms of preventative maintenance. And today's Bar J Shop Talk is all about filters. And so you can look forward to that. And then Let's Go Distributors, a kid in the trucker's candy store. That's what you want to be. And Tina from Let's Go is going to walk us through some more cool products. It is the trucker's candy store in Edmonton, Alberta. And they've just got a ton of stuff. And I spent a day up there just interviewing people and just finding more about what they do and who they are. And so today's segment of being a kid in a trucker's candy store is going to feature Tina walking through some products that are really cool for your truck and just whet your appetite for those things. And I appreciate them. Their Pro Show and Shine is going on in September of this year. You'll get more info as it comes closer. And it's going to be a really cool event in September at the Heritage Grounds in Leduc West Historical Society. Their grounds are amazing. And just the collection of antique trucks and various things on those grounds is just a sight to see. And Lesco has a heart for the community that they serve and that support them. And so it's going to be an awesome show again this year, and looking forward to that. But they'll be around, and Tina will be showcasing some cool stuff in the Truckers Candy Store. And then we're going to end off with a continuation of my series on the book that I wrote, Authenticity, Taking Authority Over Authenticity. And we've been talking about that for the last couple of weeks, and it continues today. A lot of people, when I ask them what they were born to do, they just chuckle and they smile, or they look down and they say, I don't have a clue, Dave. And you know what? I think emotionally for many people, that's the case. They don't feel like they have a clue. But the truth is, and that's going to be the focus of my excerpt from the book today, the truth is that life has been screaming at you as to what you were born to do. And it just takes a little bit of finesse to step back and start listening to what your life has been telling you. And so I want to walk through that. Start with what you do know. And so it's going to be an interesting segment. If you're a person that, if I were to ask you what you were born to do, you're going, good question, Dave. I don't have a clue. I think you do. And I get it if it's not right in the tip of your tongue or in the tip of your mind, front of mind, but it's there. And so stay tuned today as I walk you through a process. This is not airy-fairy high-level stuff that is only reserved for the rich and famous and the celebrities and out of Hollywood. This is available for you. Driving down the road in your truck, and maybe as a team or by yourself. This is something that's available to every single person if they choose to do it. And there's nothing to stop you from choosing to do it unless you choose not to do it. So today's episode or excerpt from my book, Authenticity, is going to be about you do know more than you think about what it is you were born to do, and where do you go to find that, and how do you find those things. The book is available. I'm going to be talking about a number of parts of the book I have for the last couple of weeks and will be for the next few weeks. The book's available for sale on the Wow Trucks Facebook page, on the Wow Trucks website. And so go and look for the links. If you want to purchase it, it's only $17.99. And you can call also 403-874-1044. But looking forward to sharing some more from it today, and hope that if it helps one or two people that are listening get greater purpose in their life and find life more fulfilling because of that, that's awesome. That's why I do this show. So, well, your seatbelts, if you're in the truck, are likely fastened already. If you're just getting in, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go with my interview and a tribute to Big Mack, Aaron Friesen, by his parents, Cheryl and Bernie, in Manitoba, accompanied by my good friend and founder of, or one of the founders of, All Up Big Rigs No Limits on Facebook, Tyler Rogers, more commonly known as Ty Jam on Facebook. Sit back and enjoy this interview with a really cool couple. Here we go.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Ty.
How you guys doing?
Good.
How are you?
Hey, I'm all right. I think whenever I talk, it's gonna blank David out.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. That's what happened.
Yeah. You have power, Ty. That's power.
It's whoever's got the loudest voice gets control over the video screen.
Yeah. Actually, let me just see, what view am I on here? I'm on gallery view. Okay, yeah. So it's just not speaker view, so it's all good. Yeah, when Ty's pretty face on screen, the ratings go up.
Okay.
When they can't see them, then ratings go down. Like people tune in if they can see.
I'm sorry.
It's the beard, I think.
Yeah, the beard.
Yeah, Ty's had many looks since I've known him, and so
yeah, it does. Yep,
that's good. That's awesome. Because Mama Big Mac is gonna show some cookies on the screen, and that would distract.
No,
you know what?
There's none left. She gave them all to Ty the other day.
I have
ended up-
them with me.
She did. She baked a whole batch of cookies, and I ended up getting one. So you know who's more important here.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That's what I had for supper this evening was half a plate of cookies here.
Now
So
there's a
I
quality supper right there.
got a jar of pickles in the fridge too.
Yeah.
You took them home, or you got them with you, or Jamie took them home?
You know, it's really funny because when we got back to the shop that day, we were so like, because it was blowing and snowing, and we were busy trying to get Adeline from the truck into the car, and the cookies and pickles got left in the truck. So guess
darn.
Oh, how
Guess who
unfortunate.
got-
eh?
guess who got all of it? Yeah,
Yeah.
this guy.
There you
Yeah.
go.
You're a lucky man. Well, thank you guys for agreeing to take a part in this and tell the story. That's cool. We have, you know what? Hey, let's just if we can just dedicate this with prayer for a couple minutes in the front, and it's going to be powerful. Thank you for sharing the story, and it's a testimony, and so I'm excited, and it takes strength to share it, but God uses that, and so Father, I thank you for this wonderful couple. I just thank you for Cheryl and Bernie. I thank you for Ty that's on this call. Lord, let our words be your words. Let your Holy Spirit just translate this whole broadcast as it airs in a few weeks' time, and it would speak to each person as they have need in their heart. And so, Father, let us have a good time, and we just dedicate this to you, to your will and your power, your redeeming grace. And we just thank you for the life of Aaron, Father. And we thank you that we are comforted by the fact that he's with you and that he's in your kingdom and there is no more pain, and that all is good. And so bless this time. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And
Here's David here. Welcome to the Wow Show. It's my honor to have as guests today Cheryl and Bernie Friesen on the show. This beautiful couple lost their young son, Aaron, on July 28th, 2019, to a tragic trekking accident very close to home. The last show, we talked about the power of telling your story, and I'm honored that they're willing to tell their story. And I'm grateful because in having had the chance to speak with this couple and to learn more from Ty Jam, who's also on the call, and many of Aaron's friends, this is a story of love. It's a story of faith, and it's a story of the power of a trekking community in trekking to make a difference. So Cheryl and Bernie, thank you for being here today.
thank you for having us. We appreciate
It's good
it.
to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
if you can let our audience know where you're speaking from, tell them where home is.
We're from Rosenort, Manitoba, sitting outside with about 6 inches of snow right
We're
now.
not safe.
But
We're not outside.
It's okay. You don't have to social distance. You're married. So
It looks pretty snowy out right now, so it doesn't feel like spring, but yeah, we're in Rosenort, Manitoba.
Just outside of Winnipeg by about an hour.
okay. That's awesome. So Aaron Friesen, Big Mack.
Yeah.
Tell me about how he came to be part of your family. Tell that story.
Well, let's see. We were married for several years, and we'd been trying to conceive. A couple of surgeries, tons of medication, nothing working.
Yeah.
We applied for adoption at that point, and we waited for several years. And we had actually just said to each other, "Okay, we'll just be happy with the two of us, and we'll just spoil the living daylights out of our nephews and nieces."
Mm-hmm.
When we had come to that term, like when we came to that decision, within months, we got a phone call from Child and Family Services. I was at work. I kept disappearing into a boss's office who wasn't there, making arrangements. So from the first phone call till Aaron was in our home was 9 days.
So we literally had like a 9-day pregnancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also knowing we were getting his older sister in about 2.5 months.
That is an amazing story.
Yeah, it went quick. Like we we could have changed their names if we wanted to, but JL was already almost 3 and very, very bright. So she knew she had a brother Aaron, and that would have been hard on her knowing this is your brother Aaron, but we're gonna call him something else.
Yes.
Because their transition was like from the city to a middle of a field.
Yes.
You know, like everything changed. And so part of the reason we kept his name was because to make her transition easier. So we did give him the middle name Mackenzie. And later on, that's where Big Matt comes from.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. So first day home, what was that like when you brought him home?
We were both giddy for about half an hour. I had him on my lap and I just stared into his eyes. They were so dark, I could barely see his pupils. He kept looking at me like, "What's wrong with you, lady?"
Brings up a very quick memory for me. Me and my father-in-law were working on the farm. We were farming together and we were building some bins. And so Cheryl brings Aaron out there the very first day. And of course, we're using impact wrenches and stuff, and it's really loud.
Yeah.
And Aaron just had no problem with the noise at all. He loved every second of it just because there was action.
Yeah.
He was always into noise and engines. Any engine was great for him.
His favorite time in his foster home, like his foster parents were fantastic, except for she was super busy. So the kid was 11 months old when we got him, and he didn't walk or crawl or anything yet because he spent most of his days in a jolly jumper. But on garbage day, that boy could maneuver that thing around so he could watch that thing the entire length of the street. Like that, he just swung around, dragged his foot. It was amazing. I watched him, and then he was oblivious to everything and everyone else in the room until that thing was out of sight. And then all of a sudden he was back. Like, okay, now I'll look at you. But yeah. He came to the right place.
Pretty sure he was born with a steering wheel in his hands, I think, or something.
It sounds like it. And it sounds like that jolly jumper, even if it didn't have a steering wheel, he was bound and determined to steer it.
Yes.
We are the product of our environment. So early beginnings to this love of equipment and trucks, as you brought home. When did he first get into a truck? When did he first operate a piece of equipment? We start him young in the prairies.
Well, hopefully the Child Labor Board doesn't see this.
You won't be the first.
Okay. On the farm, you start doing stuff early. Like the summer we got him a bike, we made the mistake sort of getting him a quad, never rode his bike again. At 8 years old, he was mowing our yard. And I just told Bernie, he's not doing ditches. That's too scary. By the end of the summer, he was doing ditches because he was just thinking it was so stupid that he couldn't. The next summer, he started mowing part of my dad's yard. By the time he was 12, he was mowing, I guess our farm yard was roughly 8 to 10 acres. And we had this big front end loader with a wide mower at the back. So we had a rotation. One day was ours, then mom and dad's, then another section mom and dad's, then the dike around the farm. And it got to the point he needed more to do. So we were a quarter mile from the corner.
Yep.
And we had half a mile of land between the two homes, my parents and ours. So from the corner till the edge of our property, both sides of the ditches were mowed by him because, well, it looked better. And he could drive something then.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And if he was really super bored, he would, we have this old AR. We call it a putt-putt because that's the noise it makes.
It's a 2-cylinder antique tractor.
Yeah. He would hook this thing up behind it and just drag it across my mom and dad's gravel yard just to smooth it out. My mom would crank open the window to hear that thing. It didn't matter whether it was really hot or really cold outside because Aaron was doing it. So,
do you know, I've always heard the phrase everything's relative, and so you're telling me that this kid mowed 2 sections of land and then he had time left over and was bored.
Well, he just
he just anything with a motor, he was so thrilled if he ever got a chance.
And his skills with backing up began very early in his lifetime too. Like he was probably maneuvering that garden tractor when he was, I don't know, 5.
Yeah.
And he would have a wagon behind it.
Two wagons.
There were 2 wagons behind it.
And they did not turn easy. They were horrible.
And he would refuse to unhook those wagons and put them in the shed. He had to back them into place.
Yep.
Okay.
And the
I
guy
did-
had, had amazing skills.
Yeah.
He was better at it than probably anybody on the yard, and he was 5.
I don't know if I told you this, but we had this small snowmobile trailer hooked up to the farm half ton, and my dad was in a hurry. He says, "Oh, just back it up against the shop, and that's good enough." So I go, and it's just not working. And here's my 8-10-year-old going, "Well, you got to do this and this." I finally said, "If you can do better, do it." He crawled in the half ton, backed it up, unhooked it, put the truck back where it belonged, and looked at me and walked away.
That sounds like Aaron.
Yeah.
Or good buddy.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, really? I was hoping he would like
Mess up.
jackknife it or something, but he didn't. Just like, okay, I'm feeling a little foolish. Can't back up a stupid little trailer.
That's amazing. And so, real trucks. When did he
Oh.
get his license? Who did he first work for?
Well, he probably started, I would say, at the age of 12, I would guess, or 13.
10.
He probably
10.
first, you think it was 10?
When he started green card.
Like he started driving a tractor and grain cart at age 10, but I would guess by about age 12 or 13, I think there may have been a few times when we were, there was a loaded tandem sitting on the field, which are like repurposed semis, right? So
Yeah.
it has the same gears, it has the same shifter and everything. So he would drive it 5, 6, 7 miles home. No problem. Like after.
And then he would back it up and unload it into the bin.
At 12.
So yeah, he was driving at 13. Of
Yeah.
course, at 16, he got his driver's license. And then at 18, I mean, I think the day he turned 18, he
Not
probably,
quite. It was quite humbling for him because he like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
He had to write his learners 3 times. Like he wrote it as soon as he could. He failed. Second time he failed because he was in a hurry. Third time I said, "You're not booking it for at least a week, and you're gonna take your time. Like just read over things. You know what you're doing."
Mhm.
And he calmed down, and then he passed with flying colors. And then the first time the driving test, he passed. He aced that.
he never did like studying. So
Nope.
So I just found my connection with Aaron because I failed my first written test as well. And I remember my dad was waiting outside, and it was like embarrassing to walk out there.
yes, no doubt.
You needed like 90% on the exam to pass, and I got like 87 or something like that. I missed
Oh.
one question, and it's like, Dad, I didn't pass. And then I had to go back in the actual test. That went all right. That went all right. Yeah. No, so that's a definite connection with him. So his first company was Paul Brandt Trucking, was it?
Well, when he was 16, he couldn't drive a semi, so he worked for a local dirt moving company, and he spent his summers working in Winnipeg, making retention ponds for the new neighborhoods going up.
Excavation
So
equipment,
he was driving not backhoes, he did graders and
tractor scrapers.
so big equipment anyway. During the winter, he would do some snow removal for them. Once he got his license, he worked for that same, his class 1, sorry. He did work for that dirt moving company, and he was driving a side dump. And that was just a summer job. And then he got on with Paul Brandt Trucking here in Morris.
Well, that was his first long haul.
Yeah.
Long haul.
Yeah.
He did.
And I
Of
think
course, he had to do Canada until he was 18.
he did day driving for the longest time. And I think that's where he met Ty, because he kept seeing Gypsy at Headingley truck stop. And I love this story because this is how Ty started to be a part of Aaron's life. And there goes.
Yeah. I'll never forget that day because that was back when Jamie and I were running team, and we had pulled into Emerson at the Flying J there, and we always parked kind of in the back corner where it's a little bit more quiet. And I think Jamie had parked, and I was sitting in the driver's seat getting my logbook ready, and I was looking down at my logbook, and this truck pulled up beside me. I looked over, and it was Aaron. And he was looking out of his driver window with a big smile on his face. And I just kind of smiled and nodded, and he kind of nodded at me, like truckers do that all the time. So then I just kind of didn't think twice about it. I went back to my logbook, and then Aaron had gotten out of his truck, walked around to my driver door, and I didn't see him because I was paying attention to my logbook. And he knocked on my door, which like scared scared me. I like jumped. I remember jumping. I look out my window and there's this young lad standing outside. I opened the door and he was very, very polite. He's like, I love your truck, man. Can I please take a picture of it? And I was like, yeah, of course, take a picture. So he took a couple pictures of the truck, and then he wanted to, talk, what's under the hood? What do you got for a transmission? Where do you haul? And on and on and on. And yeah, we just really kicked it off, and we became friends on Facebook. And it was like 2 weeks after we had initially met. We were talking a lot on Facebook, and this kid, Aaron Big Mac, is just messaging me. I'm trying to keep up with his messages. And I finally told him, like, this is my phone number. You want to talk, call me. And it was probably like 15 seconds later, my phone rings. And yeah, ever since then, we just became very good friends and spent many hours on the road talking to each other.
That's awesome.
Oh, I tell you, we used to see his phone bills. There were 8-hour, 10-hour phone calls, like literally without a break in between.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Those guys were on the phone all the time.
Which was
He
awesome.
wasn't paying by the minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Once in a while, it did get to that point. He had some very expensive phone bills.
It got pretty expensive till he finally got the right plan, which was unlimited everything. Yeah.
Yes. And that.
But when Aaron told me that night that he had met this guy with this fancy truck that was just pretty and all this, and he said he had talked to him, and I said, oh, and he said, well, I asked him if I could take a picture of his rig, and I go, just take a picture. It's like whatever. He goes, Mom, eyes are rolling. I could hear them rolling into the back of his head on the phone. Mom, you just don't go take a picture of a guy's rig. You gotta ask him. Sorry.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and that was the start of Aaron making friends on the road. And it's been fantastic because these guys, he could ask them questions, ask for advice, and him being the kid of the group, he had a bunch of big brothers, which was fantastic. I know. It did our hearts good knowing that he had a bunch of guys looking out for him. Like they took him under his wing, showed him the ropes, how to fill a logbook out properly.
Speaking of logbooks,
I know.
Oh man. Okay, so we're all on the phone there. We like to have conference phone calls with a bunch of friends on the phone, and Aaron was there, and we're all talking up a storm, and we were bragging about, like this is back with paper logs, and oh yeah, I squeezed 1,275 kilometers into a 13-hour driving day, and we're all bragging about like how well we did it, and then all of a sudden Aaron chimes up and he's like, yeah, I put on like 1,570 some kilometers in a 16-hour day, and everybody's just like silent. And I think it was Joe was like, you put that in your logbook? And Aaron was like, yeah. We all just like, dude, you can't do that. You're like way over your hours. He was like, oh. So we had to teach him how to fill out a logbook. But man, that was hilarious. Just the silence after you said that, everybody was just like, yeah, you can't do that, buddy.
But it says that honesty was one of his good traits.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure the guys, the first time when the first few times when he went into the States after he turned 18, then he could finally, 21, then he could finally go into the States. And I'm sure those guys talked him through many cities the first few times because he was as green as could be. And I'm sure these guys were just confident with him in the truck. It was really good for us too, knowing that he wasn't out there by himself. He had some really good friends helping him out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'll never forget the time, like, Aaron was very, you might say green, but closer to the end of his career, I had gotten myself into a situation where I haul deck freight, everything that, like, I know my industry very, very well, but I had ended up with dry van trailer coming out of Calgary into Winnipeg, and I had all these drops at all these different grocery stores, and I didn't know how to do it at all because there's like stickers and scanning and all this crazy stuff, making sure that the right stuff goes to the right places. And I was literally like, I've been driving for 14 years or something like that. And I was totally out of my comfort zone. And the only person that I had called was Big Mac. And I called him up. I'm like, dude, I am out of my comfort zone. I need your help. And he, without a beat, came in, met me in the city. We spent all day long.
He was on a reset then, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. And he spent his time with me all day long, going to all these different grocery stores and stuff and warehouses. And he's like, oh yeah, I've been there. Oh yeah, just don't go that way because you won't be able to make that right-hand turn up there. So we got to go around this way. And I was just so thankful that he was with me because, he really helped me out that day.
Well, I remember that too. He was just thrilled that he could help you.
Well, he was happy to get it. Like when he got home, he was totally bored out of his trees. What are we doing? What are we going to do? What are we doing? So when you called him, said, go, please. Go help. Was that the day you came for supper, Ty?
I don't think I came for supper that day because I had to wash the truck and then I went back up north when we were living up north there. So it wasn't that day. But
so on average, how many times a month are you there for supper, Ty?
I try to do it as much as humanly possible. I would say I don't necessarily go for supper, but I usually we try to meet up, once a month or so, I would say, somewhere around there.
Yep.
Yeah. If he's ever in the neighborhood, definitely supposed to come over.
I promised to bake cookies, so.
Yes.
Yeah. When I run out of pickles and cookies, I got to go back to Mama Mack.
Yes. Yeah. Is that what you call them? Do you jar them that way? Do you have a Mama Mack label sticker that you put on?
I'm starting to think of it, yeah.
You
I told us he should go into business.
I may create one and send it to you, and then you can just use it on your jars. And Mama Mack.
Pickles. Perfect. Yeah.
You can be on direct then.
I gotta say, I'm very, very lucky because she always holds the jar, the empty jar of pickles, like she cans them or whatever. And if you don't bring back the empty jar, you don't get a new jar. And this last time I had gotten the jar ready, I put it by the door, but we were meeting up at a business that I haul out of quite often, which is very close to their house. So it was Monday, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Monday. Yeah.
And I wanted to take my littlest one, Adeline, and my wife to go with load. So we were all bustling, trying to get the little one ready. And, we forgot the jar by the door at the house. So I felt bad because I know you're not supposed to get a full jar without returning the empty jar, but I must be special or something because she let me take the full jar anyway.
You are.
Maybe it was my daughter. Maybe it was the cuteness of Adeline. I don't know.
That was it. That was it. It was that.
Well, I want to thank you guys because what a beautiful picture. I mean, trucking can be so lonely, but the relationships that were built, you're just talking about having homes away from home.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you guys are family.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, Mom, Cheryl calls these guys her sons. So
my boys.
These are her boys. Ty Jam. And Josh.
I got to tell one more quick story about Mama and Papa Mack.
Oh dear.
So the first time I went over for supper, Aaron was bugging me for a very long time. Man, you got to come out, meet my parents. I had already met their parents at the truck show and stuff but I had never gone to their house to visit. So Aaron was telling me, you got to come over. I'm like, all right, okay, fine. So one day, I don't remember what the circumstances were, but I ended up out there and Mama Mack made awesome lasagna and those biscuits, Red Lobster biscuits. That's right. And that was an awesome meal. And I was a little bit out of my comfort zone because, I know Aaron very well, but I didn't really know his parents that well. But they made me feel so comfortable. By the time supper was done and I was going to leave again, Mama Mack was emptying out the pantry, putting everything in grocery bags, telling me, oh, you have to take this. Oh, you're too skinny. You need more food. And I walked out of there probably with more food in my pickup than I do when I go to the grocery store. And I've loved them ever since. They have the biggest hearts that anybody could possibly have. They're amazing people. And I'm
Okay.
so glad that Aaron got me to come out there that first night.
Yeah, I think that he met you at Headingley. There was something wrong with Gypsy and he had nothing to do, so he went to help you. And then he called me and said, "Hey, Mom, can I bring Ty home for supper?" I'm going,
That's right.
"Okay." And I said, "What do I make?" So he said something to you, you said something, and he changed it. He says, "Lasagna." I said, "Okay," and a salad. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And so I found out later you said that anything cheesy would be fine. So Aaron just said lasagna. So at least he gave me like 2 hours so I could get it ready. So that was good.
That's good. Yeah, no, I honor you, Cheryl and Bernie, because it's you are parents to many. You are parents to many.
Yeah, we've embraced the trucking community very much since Aaron's passing.
Yeah. So let's talk about that day and the accident that took Aaron's life far too soon. So we're in July of 2019, and what was the story behind his passing?
Well, we'll start on July 27th. It was a Saturday. Aaron had I think it was 2 months earlier, he had changed companies. He'd gone to a mobile trailer hauling company. So, and because I think he was just tired of being alone in the truck all the time. So now he was working with a crew. So they got to hang out at a hotel for a night, and he was loving it. He was doing a little more physical labor. So he was losing some weight. Now, I should probably tell you that Aaron was like 500 pounds. He was a big guy, but very active. Like it didn't affect him. He seemed fine with it, but he was trying to lose weight all the time. So
he wanted to get into step decking. So he knew he had to lose weight.
This job was good for him. So they had been in Saskatchewan. I think they got held up or whatever. So they were somewhere in Saskatchewan. And so they got up at 3 o'clock in the morning so they could head out to Winkler because there was a a semi show and shine in Winkler. So he spent the day in Winkler at the show and shine. We ended up, he asked us if we could we've got a classic 77 Toyota Celica. He wanted us to bring our car out so his buddies could see it.
No,
and I think
he promised one of the boys whose birthday was the next day that I would let him drive my car for his birthday. That was his gift to his friend.
Congrats.
So we did get to hang out with him for several hours on his last day, which was awesome.
We're so glad we did.
And then they had a party in the evening. All the truckers went for a big party, and of course Aaron, being a driver, knows that he shouldn't drink, so he didn't drink. He wasn't really a big drinker. He may have had a beer or two, but not a big drinker. So it was 2:30 in the morning, I believe, when he texted us.
No, I did.
And well, anyways, and he said,
when he was on the road, I didn't worry about him because he had his big, like, the rig protected him. When he was home and not home, and he said he would be, that's when I would get nervous. I didn't sleep well. So that morning, it was about 2:39. I sent him a text because I was up. I said, "Hey, bud, are you sleeping in your rig or are you coming home?" And he texted saying, "Well, I'm already halfway home. I'll be home soon. See you in a bit."
Yeah, he was about
half an hour.
20 minutes away from home, or half an hour.
Half an hour, yeah.
So by the time 3:30 rolled around, and we had been trying to call him. He should, it was 2:30, so by 3 o'clock he should have been home.
So by 3:15,
we were calling, no answer. By 4 o'clock, was it 4 o'clock when I went out?
We want to give him his space. We don't want to hover, right? So we did sort of wait a little bit.
But by 4, I just knew there was something wrong. So I jumped in my pickup and I drove out to the area where he said he was.
Yeah.
But it was pitch dark, so I really couldn't see much.
He had a black half ton.
He had a black half ton too. So I turned around, and on my way back, the sun was just starting to peak up. And literally, 5 miles from home, I saw my son's pickup. He had fallen asleep, and he had jumped hit an embankment. Yeah, hit an embankment head on and died instantly.
Wow.
And I found him lying in his seat in his black Ford pickup at 4:30 in the morning on our anniversary, on our 35th anniversary.
Wow, I'm sorry.
Hardest day of our life.
Yeah.
When we had chatted, you kind of had mentioned that And, you know, while that is unimaginable to find your son that way, you felt it was almost a gift for you.
Well, I think it was better than getting a phone call, because I had that feeling that I was at least doing something, that I was
Yeah.
doing my part to look for him and to keep him, or to find him. So I think a phone call out of the blue from the police would have been even worse,
Yes.
Or a doorbell
or
ringing.
as bad anyways. But yeah, it was a horrible day.
Yeah.
And only through God's grace that we've made it through this. It's been a struggle. It's been hard, but God has carried us through.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can provide strength. And so then you called Cheryl and you broke the news.
Yeah, Cheryl came out to the site.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let her go and take a look at the truck.
No, like he said, I think he's gone, the door's locked. I said, and I'm like
Oh.
freaking out, and I go, he's not. Break the window, call 911. I'll be right there.
Yeah.
No, I knew the minute I saw it that he was gone.
So yeah, it's a bit of a blur the rest of the day trying to get a hold of family. Our church has been fantastic.
Well, it was
Sunday morning.
It was Sunday morning, and our church literally canceled their service. They sat around in a circle and they prayed for us
All morning.
And it was a steady people.
Yeah, we had like
stream
100
of people coming in.
Like we got a book out or a paper at least, and people were writing. We just put a note at the door, ring the doorbell, come in. We had about 100 people the first day, 80 people the next, and then a slow and steady stream the rest of the
Food,
week.
we had a freezer full of food. We
Yeah.
we didn't have to worry about any kind of food for that week for sure. It was overwhelming almost, but
Well, besides the
certainly-
church community, being in a small town, it's definitely different than being in the city.
Yeah.
His sisters, they all grew up on the farm, but have all lived in the city all their adult lives. So they sort of mock us out about people waving everybody in town and going, wow, it's either, hey, how you doing, friend? Or hey, welcome here. And they mock us out. And I said to them, I mean, yeah, if you sneeze and pass gas, everybody in town knows.
Yes.
But if something bad happened, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah.
And not realizing we would be on the receiving end of that.
Yep.
And sorry.
You were on the receiving end of something.
Yeah. Praise God. Anyway, they were all here, and every time, like, I glanced at them once in a while. I mean, I basically sat there all day just wearing Aaron's clothes.
Yeah.
Well, swimming in his clothes, and just basically zoned out and stuff. And it was sort of fun seeing their faces. Fun, I don't know if it's fun, but it was interesting seeing their faces, because they got to see what my life is like out here. This is what community is.
Yeah.
So the local church, like we've got several churches here, and it didn't matter what church you came from, people were dropping in.
Yeah.
Bringing.
They support each other.
Bringing food, bringing condolences.
Huge, yeah. And
flowers.
the thing is, everybody knew Aaron. Like, he worked at the gas station for a couple of years, the one and only in town. So a lot of people knew him through that.
Yeah.
In our church. Well, that was one of the reasons Aaron was coming home that night yet, instead of sleeping in his rig, because he wanted to be in church on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And he
was the guy at the back of the church. He was so big that he wasn't comfortable in a pew. So he was the guy standing at the back of the church, and he would always have a kid in his hand.
Yeah.
The 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds all loved Uncle Aaron.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so he's definitely been missed in our church.
Yeah.
I mean, the mothers would take their kids out halfway through the service crying, and
throw them at him.
all of a sudden Aaron would put out his arms and they'd come running, and mom would go, oh good, I get rid of my kid. So yeah, he definitely had a job to do at church. He was definitely missed there.
So the power of the local community, the power of the church community.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then as you honored Aaron with his funeral, and even around those days, and it continues to today, there's the power of the trucking community. So can you talk about?
My goodness. Those boys, I can't say enough good about them. Like some truckers look so rough and tough. They're not.
No, they're teddy bears.
They are. Sorry, guys. Like most of them are family guys. They have kids. They've got, you know,
Yeah.
family. That so they get the family aspect of it. And as we were planning the funeral, we had our pallbearers picked out, but I wanted truckers involved. So we had 6 honorary pallbearers, and they asked, well, what should we wear? And I go, he liked high vis, so they all wore high vis vests.
Mhm.
And it was really cool. I would call these guys. I talked to Joe for the first time and a couple of the other guys for the first time, and I just said, hi, it's Mama Mack. And it got very quiet. And then I asked the guys, I said, look, we're hoping you would do us the honor of being an honorary pallbearer. And I had 3 different grown men crying on the other line when I called.
Yeah.
And that as Aaron's mom, that was heartwarming because I knew they cared.
Yeah.
So, and then we asked different guys that were parts of his life, like growing up and whatnot. And I realized at that point, every single one of them had their class 1s.
Yeah.
That wasn't intentional, but that's the way it worked out. So
Wow.
it was cool. And
Well, as the week went along, we started to hear about, I think it was Ty Jam
Yeah.
who started to arrange this convoy. He said he was just gonna get whoever wanted to join them was gonna come out and drive out to the funeral. And so we started to, we were trying to plan a funeral, and knowing that our local church
the
was
parking lot.
not gonna be big enough for this funeral, knowing that there'd probably be, 50 to 100 truckers there.
No, we figured, we were thinking 20 to 30
But,
trucks would be
the
good.
people, yeah.
The
but-
people
and-
was gonna be lost, yeah.
So we ended up booking the convention center in Morris. And so as the day came closer, we're talking to the funeral director and telling him that there's going to be trucks coming. And so that we'd need parking spots and all that. And so these guys ended up, and maybe I should let Ty tell the story of how they ended up there. They showed up at we were doing the burial first before the funeral. And I'll let Ty tell you all about his plans of getting there.
So how it all started, I was in British Columbia at the time. I had found out that Aaron had passed, and it didn't even feel real. It was, it just, it's like a state of shock, I guess. But I had waited a day or two. I had tracked down Mama Mack's phone number because I didn't have her personal number. And I got the number and I sent a text message because I wasn't sure if she even wanted us truckers there or anything like that. So before I even said anything, I sent her a message. That's when she asked me if I wanted to be I sent her a message. Then she had called me and we had a really long, awesome chat. I remember I was in Kamloops at the Petro up on top of the hill, standing beside my trailer, because my daughter was riding with me, and it was hard. Like I was fighting the tears and stuff, and I didn't want my daughter to see me crying. But Mama Mack had asked me if I wanted to be an honorary pallbearer, and I said absolutely. It would be an honor. And then I asked her if it was okay if I brought my truck,
Mhm.
and maybe some of our close friends brought their trucks, and she said absolutely. So I had just put out a message because Aaron is a big part of our group and stuff like that. So that, and we're all really good friends. So I posted on there after, like, we were planning a truck show the same weekend that Aaron's funeral is planned, and we were seriously debating about postponing it, but we decided that we would go through it because Aaron would tell us that we would be crazy not to go through with the truck show. So we went through the truck show, and it was a very weird truck show because usually everybody's up in a roar and having a good time. But pretty much the whole entire truck show was, everybody giving a toast to Aaron and stuff. And I had posted on Facebook that we were gonna drive out to the funeral as a little convoy. And honestly, I thought, yeah, that 20 trucks would be a lot of trucks that would show up. So I wasn't expecting much. I didn't advertise it, but as soon as I posted that, there was people messaging me like crazy, like, what time's the truck show, or I mean the convoy, and everybody just wanted to be a part of it. So we said that we were leaving Brandon because the show was in Brandon. We left Brandon at, I think it was 9 o'clock in the morning, and we left Brandon with about, I would say, around that 10 trucks. And by the time we got to the funeral, there was over 60 trucks that were involved with that convoy, of all people that wanted to be, that were friends with Aaron, even guys that had talked to Aaron on the phone, but hadn't even met him in person yet. And it was just amazing when everybody showed up. Not everybody came to the actual funeral, because there was lots of guys that weren't able to make that happen. They were pulling trailers with loads and stuff like that. So they joined us. We went from Brandon all the way to the perimeter on Winnipeg, around the perimeter, and then onto 75 and down. And I can't remember the highway number that cuts across to Rosenort, but there had been, yeah, but there had been an accident at that intersection, and the highway was closed, and we were on our way to, the funeral.
Yeah.
So we had to make a quick decision. We ended up turning the trucks around. We jogged back north a little bit. We found a gravel road, and there was like, I think there was 30, just under 40 trucks that showed up to the actual funeral. But we were all hoofing her across this gravel road because we were late now, and we had a very strict time that we needed to be there. And there was a lot of talk between me and Aaron's parents about maybe just postponing it, like the trucks going to the actual funeral and going to the procession instead. But Mama Mack said, nope, I'm not leaving the graveyard until her boys show up. And when I heard her say that, I was like, come on, guys. We had all these polished up trucks ripping down a gravel road.
I felt so bad.
That is love for you guys to be hoofing it down a gravel road. That is love.
Yeah. It was like, I don't know, what was that? That gravel road have been 6 miles or so?
Yeah, probably
something like that.
Yep.
So, and it was rough, but not a single guy complained about it. Everybody knew what needed to be done. We got those trucks moving, and when we showed up there, and I can't remember who it was, somebody said, let's honk the horns. So we did a big countdown, and everybody drained the air right out of their trucks. Like, there wasn't a single truck there that had 5 pounds in their reservoir tanks. It was right empty. And then we walked up, met up with Aaron's parents, and that was very emotional and quite blurry.
Yeah.
And we said our goodbyes to Aaron, and thankfully Kerry from Paul Brandt, he had set it up because we had to get all these trucks into Morris, and he had set it up. He shut down Highway 75 for us with the fire department. So we didn't have to stop for red lights or stop signs or nothing when we went from the graveyard to the arena or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And that was very amazing because it was like that whole town. Highway 75 is like the main highway that connects North Dakota to Winnipeg, and it's a very busy road, and it was completely shut down for Aaron.
Yeah.
And it was very amazing. And when we pulled in there, we drained the air tanks again. When we were coming into Morris, over the CB radio, everybody was shouting like, let's wake this town up for Aaron, because Aaron loves his Jake brakes and his air horns. So we were being as loud as we possibly could in that town. It was amazing. And I'm really glad that they booked that place, because I don't think you could fit a scooter into that parking lot after we got all the trucks and everybody was there. It was amazing.
It was.
Yeah, it was incredible. We showed up. We drove, of course, in the convoy or in the funeral procession to Morris, and We got there and the trucks were behind us. So we're standing there waiting for the trucks.
Yeah.
And Cheryl says, I'm not going in until I see all these trucks.
I'm not going in because I know as soon as we were going in, they were gonna start the service because we were late because the guy's coming late to the graveside. I should mention, my brother's in RCMP and he says they never shut highways down for anybody.
Yeah.
They shut the 23 highway down that goes into, that we drove into Morrison, and they shut the 75 highway down. And my brother said that is unheard of.
Mhm.
So we stood
Yeah.
there and waited for them all
Yeah.
to pull in,
And
and they were honking their horns down Main Street in Morris and everything.
It was awesome.
So they pulled in. There was, I thought I think there was almost 50 trucks parked in the parking lot.
Hmm.
And so
There was a lot.
we're about to walk in and they're all parked, and all of a sudden they just erupted in every
unison, yeah.
50 trucks pulled their horns at the same time.
Like
And
they
it was for a terrible day. It was very, very comforting
Oh, yeah.
to hear that, because we knew that Aaron, he just loved chrome chicken lights and air horns. That was his thing. And we were getting, all these truckers were just blowing their air horns for Aaron, and it was incredible.
See, we didn't know the guys were gonna do it on the highway. We didn't know if they were gonna do it, like build up air again and then do one more time together. When that happened, I just leaned against Bernie and I made that heart symbol above my head. I don't know if one trucker saw it, but my heart was so full of love for these boys. It was like air horns to me, like they are soothing. Jake brakes is music to my ears. Chrome is gorgeous. Like Aaron taught me those things. And honestly, every time I see an air horn, hear an air horn,
yeah,
even if it's 2 miles away, I'm smiling because I'm thinking of my boy.
So we walked into the convention center and there was
Oh, wow.
850 people sitting in there.
Blew us out of the
And we
water.
were completely overwhelmed. It was just unbelievable. Funeral was beautiful. I mean, it was just awesome. We had Aaron was a believer. Aaron was absolutely a believer. He had actually been baptized
The summer
before in our backyard,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
has the Morris River running through it. So the pastor had actually used some of Aaron's words in his message, and he'd given a complete salvation message for anybody who was there. They definitely heard what Aaron believed, and it was very, very comforting,
Yeah.
I will say.
And it's giving you guys strength. I mean, you
Oh,
can
big
hear it
time.
in your voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
heard Aaron's words spoken back from the pastor, and it was pretty touching.
It's kind of cool when a funeral doesn't have to have a finality spirit to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like we know for a fact that we're going to see Aaron again. It's just going to take a little longer for us than for him. It's just a split second and we'll be there. But for us, it's a few more years. But
Yeah.
you know,
I think Mack have a few more decades
yes, exactly.
of being with family.
I've often wondered why God would take Aaron from us, and I've never gotten an answer to that. But I know that Aaron was 500 pounds, and you know, he didn't know what his future was going to be like. But I can see him right now in heaven with a nice, beautiful 250-pound body.
Yeah.
And it always makes me smile when I think of that, because I know Aaron's not dragging around that 500 pounds anymore. And it wasn't his fault that he was 500 pounds. It was a physical thing that he couldn't really, he tried hard, but he couldn't do anything about. But I know that now he's got a perfect body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Friends of ours who have lost a son about 8-10 years ago made a comment, and it's so true. My feet are not so firmly planted on this earth anymore
Yes.
because there's someone in heaven waiting for them.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and I totally relate. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
my first wife passed away when she was 30. And you know, I was fortunate, you know, in terms of God kind of talking to me as a result of that. So the day that she passed away from a brain aneurysm, and the day that she passed away, we had a Swiss student in our home. He was learning English as a second language in Calgary. we had taken him out to Banff. We got back. Nina said she was tired, was going to lay down, and she gave me a kiss on the cheek. She said, "You're my hero," and she went to lay down. And then a little while later, Roger came and he said, I think she's having a nightmare. And long story short, it was the beginning of an aneurysm, and she was able to get up, but I knew we needed to get to the hospital. And about 2 weeks later, she passed away. But 2 months later, a good friend of mine phones me up, and he's all excited. And he says, "Dave," I saw Nina in a dream. And he said, "She's up in heaven." And he said, she was just saying, "It's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it." And then he blew me away. And because he said, "And she wants me to remind you that you're her hero."
Oh, wow.
Wow. So
That's cool.
that is truly a dream from God. But that is. Yeah, I know Cheryl's dad has had a dream, and you can probably tell her
Oh,
that.
well, like we have the reassurance of where Aaron is. Like we knew where his spiritual life was at.
Yeah.
My dad was, 98.5% certain too, but he was having a very rough day. And this was about 5 or 6 months after Aaron passed. And my dad was a big influence in Aaron's life.
Yeah.
He's the one that showed him how to drink coffee.
Well,
both of us don't.
we farmed together, and we lived across the garden from each other. So he grew up with his grandpa
every day. So
every day, yeah.
Dad had been having a particularly hard day, and he was just praying, like, "Lord, just give me a bit of a sign that that Aaron is there." And he said it was almost an audible that he was hearing, "Aaron's with me, he's fine. Go and rejoice," kind of thing. So
Cool.
A few of his friends have said they've had dreams.
Yeah.
Neither of us have yet. Then again, I don't want to be taking medication to go to sleep every night. So I watch Netflix till I fall asleep. So I'm exhausted. And then, so
again, that's the power of community, right? We exhort each other.
Yes.
I didn't have that dream. My friend had that dream.
Yeah.
And even this last week, we had Aaron's friends that he graduated with. There's a group of about 4 or 5 of them. They showed up for the evening, sat around and just chatted with us, just visited, just because they still care about us. And those are his buddies. Like they don't need to be coming around anymore. I thought it was just amazing that these 22-year-old guys take an evening off just to come down and hang with a bunch of 55-year-old people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I gotta say something about that. For us out here, when we start to miss Aaron, you guys are like a splitting image of him. You guys raised an amazing boy, and he's just like you guys. So for us to hang around you guys, it's like getting a piece of Aaron back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember the one story you told us about the one. Yeah, we were coming out to the truck show to see him, and Aaron had told all his trucking buddies, "You guys, my parents are coming. No swearing in front. You guys cannot swear in front of my parents."
I remember that. That was hilarious.
But he never did tell us that he did that. Like he'd done that at a few different truck shows and just like, "Do not swear in front of my parents." And it's like, so and it was mentioned also at his funeral that he was a mama's boy.
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
I don't think it bothered him at all. Like he just like
no, it didn't.
10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night, he'd be on the phone with all these guys. "Oh, sorry guys, I gotta go. Gotta call my mom."
Bye.
And yeah, we'd be like, "Oh, your mama's boy." And he'd be like, "Yep." Click.
Yeah. But I think it was actually even at the funeral where Cheryl told all the truckers.
JL did.
Cheryl told all the truckers, "Make sure you guys call your moms."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've definitely got that mothering spirit, and that's awesome, Cheryl. It's awesome, and you're affecting many. Thank you for sharing your story, you two, about Aaron.
Thank you. Thanks for giving us the opportunity. Anytime we talk about Aaron, we're thrilled.
And it builds his legacy, and you can hear it.
Yeah, good to keep his memory alive and to talk to all the people that loved him.
Yeah.
Like it's great to see. It's nice to know that you raised your kid in such a way that everybody loved him.
Oh, we
Not
trust,
saying that we did the most wonderful
No,
job, but
no.
at least we did something right.
and trust me, I know Aaron wasn't perfect. I know, I was the first to admit that.
Yep.
But he knew how, he had a big heart.
Oh
Another
yeah.
thing- Another thing the truckers did for us, which we didn't realize, you can see this flag behind us.
Yep.
The guys brought that to the funeral and had truckers sign it.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
it's a black ribbon.
It's
I
a-
don't know if you can see it, but it says
it's-
Aaron Friesen and it says
It's
date
perfect.
of,
It's
date
good.
of birth and date of death. So
Yeah, so,
And-
and the guys designed it and had it printed up and gave it to us at the funeral, so that was.
There-
that was
There's a
huge.
little bit there's a little bit of a funny story behind that flag. I don't
Okay.
know if I've ever told you guys about this, but we had Jimmy, Hildebrand, and myself and a couple other guys. We were coming. I think Jimmy's girlfriend was helping us too. Come up with the ribbon, and we didn't realize that the folds in the ribbons have a meaning to it as well. We just thought that the black ribbon had the meaning of like great loss. So we picked a black ribbon, we designed it all. And then I think it was Jimmy's girlfriend had caught it and she's like, you guys are using the wrong ribbon. We're like, what do you mean? She said like the fold on the top is wrong. The fold that we had originally picked was for sorrow for a lost mother-in-law.
Oh,
We are
Wow.
so glad that got straightened out. We got the right fold and the right color that meant, lost loved one. And that would have been really bad if we didn't catch that. But I mean,
I
it
don't
worked
think
out at the
anybody could have
end.
known that. She was probably the only one in the world that knew that.
Yeah, and
But-
most people wouldn't have noticed, but I'm glad that she did.
So,
Yeah, that's amazing. So for our listeners, if you want to, actually, there's a very cool convoy video, a drone video of the convoy in that day and pictures of Aaron. When this replay is posted on the wowtrucks.com site, you'll be able to go and check all of that out and share this story with those that you think it would encourage. Maybe they've gone through something similar. The one thing that sticks out for me is it all started with Aaron getting out of his truck and taking a step to engage with someone. And for you guys and gals on the road, if life is lonely for you, it doesn't have to be. One of the benefits of trucking is more than any other sector that you could possibly work in, there's family available to you and there's community available to you. And it's powerful, as you've heard. The relationships that can be formed are amazing.
yeah, this has been on my heart the last 15 minutes of our discussion. If somebody out there wants to message me, I'm Cheryl Friesen on Facebook. I don't have much posted, but if you need a mom to talk to, give me a shout.
Cool. I'll put a link
You'll
to
get-
the profile on the
I won't make
You'll get-
cookies for everybody though.
I was just gonna advertise the cookies and pickles for everybody.
You're gonna have to connect
Just
with
for
Ty and
special
Scott
ones.
there.
Just for the special ones, Ty, just for the special ones.
There we
Aw.
go. That's awesome. Well, bless you too. Thank you again.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Love
much.
you guys.
Love you,
yeah, you guys.
Miss you, Josh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Good night.
Gonna pull it out here so you guys can have a look. Very dirty cab air filter. And then I will grab a new one and show you what the difference is and how cheap this is to fix. Old one, new one. Huge difference. Very, very cost effective to change this. It'll make your AC work better, your heater blow harder. These filters are like less than 20 bucks. So do yourself a favor, pull that out, takes 2 minutes, get rid of that thing that you can't even see through, put a new one in, you'll be a happy fella going down the road after that.
Dave, any recommendation on kilometers or hours or? In
I
terms of
recommend having a
intervals?
peek at it every service.
Okay.
I mean, for the 10 to 18 bucks that these filters are for the most part, I mean, it's pretty cheap, and makes you a lot happier when you're getting the AC blowing on your face when you're going down the road.
What are the repairs that tend to come out of and collect of this?
What it'll do is it'll plug up your evaporator down there for your AC system. Very little airflow in the cab. Might be smell congested or whatever, you know, in there, smell stuffy. But yeah, with this, you get clean airflow going through the cab. You can smell the spring in the air as you're driving down the road, and like I say, you'd be a much happier fella with very low cost against you.
So this product here is Legacy Polishes. There used to be F1 back in the day that Ian Boyd was making. He's since let it go, but it's all right. Jason McInnes out of the BC area picked up, and he's been making the Legacy Polishes. Excellent brand of polishes, highly recommended. Again, you're supporting local by buying these. It goes a long way, and I've had nothing but good results from it. We have other polishes here, because you can see this brand right here is 10-4, immensely popular back east. The 10-4 line of cleaning products is a very good product. Their grease remover, their final touch, all of it is really good. Their ultra wash, I have some customers that come in solely for this. They say it's an amazing product. It foams really well. It doesn't slip, slide, and get all nasty. So this again is another Canadian branded cleaners.
I was going to say, Jason McInnes has been in the Wild Trucks calendar,
Yep.
and I've been able to tell his story. So he's a
Yeah.
very cool gentleman,
Yep.
and I've heard great things about his product as well.
Yeah, it is really good product.
All right, so we're going to kick into some more on my book, Authenticity, taking authority over your authenticity, kind of answering the age-old question, what was I born to do? And as I alluded to in the intro, for many of you, when I ask you that question, you go, don't have a clue. But I also challenged you in the intro that I think you know more than you're letting on. And it's not that you're intentionally hiding it back. We all do that. It's that it's just not top of mind because you really haven't had a process and a way to figure that out. Or for some people, honestly, life is giving you a belief system that that's just not available to you, that you need to do what you do to pay the rent. And that those aren't those choices. Those choices are just for other people, for the Hollywood elite, for the rich and famous, for the whoever, you know, good on them. But me, I don't have that choice. And if that's your belief system, I think, you know, many of us fall trapped to that at points in our life, and some people live in it. And I just want to call it out as a lie. It's an absolute lie. Success is not by chance, it's by choice. And it comes when we take control over what we know to make decisions for the future. And so in just a little bit, I'm going to walk you through kind of a process that I'm going to encourage you to go through to start to mine out what you already know about what you were born to do and what life has been screaming at you. For example, when have you been happiest in life? What were you doing at the time? What has each job that you've held told you about where you're strong and where you're weak? My first job was Burger King, and in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, on Great Northern Road in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, $2.25 an hour at the time. I'm giving away my age, or that I worked for child labor wages, but I'm more giving away my wage. It was probably minimum wage at the time, but it was a few decades back. And I'm a happy-go-lucky guy. I'm creative. Detail is always not my strength. And they loved me at the Burger King just for my enthusiasm, the fact that I would be singing most of the time and pick up people's moods. But in my happy-go-lucky mood, actually, I didn't make too many mistakes, but the one mistake I made was rather timely and hilarious. The only time that I ever sent out a burger without its top on, i.e., there's the bottom bun, and then there's the burger, then there's a topping, and then you spread the top bun with mayo and some other sauces, and you put it on top, and then you put it in the box, and you send it out to be served. The only time I ever did that in the 2 years I worked at Burger King was when the vice president, regional vice president, came to do a surprise, what do you call it, shopper surprise, or a shopper's evaluation of our particular Burger King location. And guess who got the burger without the top on it? That was him. I didn't get fired. It was amazing. I guess the good points overweighed the bad. All of us. Can I just say that we all have strengths and weaknesses, and if your weaknesses are having you condemn any progress in your life because you feel like, well, because I've done all these things, I don't deserve, or I can't go for some of these other things, that's a lie too. So today's about dispelling a lot of lies, because I've got a ton of weaknesses, but I have my strengths. And authenticity is taking control of where you're strong and actually moving into that place more and more and more and more and more. This does not happen overnight. So that not only are you happier, because when we do stuff we're good at, we tend to be full of energy and we tend to be happiest, but also you become valuable to the people around you because you become the best employee the company's ever had. And that value brings in a lot of things to your life that you're going to love. And so kind of the reason behind this particular process. And then, what are the people around you in your life told you were good at, Maybe they've said, and this is just quoting from the book, Charles, you really should be A, and then you fill in that blank. Well, what have people been telling you? For example, for me, it was a cool conversation a couple times because I am outgoing, and my faith is also very important to me. I've had some friends introduce me and say, Dave, yeah, he's really outgoing, he's really enthusiastic. And this was early on. They would say, when he grows up, he's either going to be a pastor or a stripper. We're not sure which, but he's got two kind of opposite parallel routes that he could possibly take in his life. And we used to howl at that. And so, you know what? We all have choices that we can do. And this is about making the most of those choices. So let's talk about an authenticity journal. In the book, I encourage people to journal. A book of any style, whether it's just a $2.99, 100-page school book with lined pages in it, or it's something fancy from Michaels or Staples that has quotes and whatever, and then blank spaces to write. I encourage people to keep a journal because your life gives you data all the time. And the trouble with that data is that if we don't write it down, we may think about it in the moment, but then you and I both know that life grabs us by the neck and pulls us forward and we forget about it. And so writing down is an important part of starting to figure out what life has already told you about. And we're going to go back and try to remember some of those things. But for the intents and purposes for this next, it's a 6-month challenge for me over the next 6 months. On a daily basis, there's 2 things you're going to write down. The first one is this. It's when you are in a time period where you're feeling great and it's not alcohol or other induced. But you're feeling good. You don't have to hit the snooze button to get up. You're not grumpy. There doesn't seem to be 1,000 bad people around you all the time. And just life is good. You've got peace, you've got calm, you've got joy. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but more or less you're happy. My question is, what are you doing? And I encourage you to journal it. Today I felt great, and here's the things that I was doing. Or this week I felt great, and here's the things that I was doing. On the flip side, and also to go into your journal that you're keeping, is the days when you're having to hit the alarm clock 10 times. And maybe the week or the year or the decade that there's a whole bunch of, difficult people around you. And when there's 25 difficult people around me in one day, I know there's a common denominator, and it's usually what I'm giving. It has rarely anything to do with most of them. When you're having those days where you're not motivated, where you don't feel any purpose, what are you doing? Write it down. Now, one journal entry does not truth make. I want to talk about that before we go on to what you do with this data. One piece of feedback, one entry into a journal, this should not guide the rest of your life. Just because you felt great doing something on that particular day, there may have been some mitigating factors that would say that it's not kind of your life's purpose and something you should be doing on a day-to-day basis moving forward. It could be who you were doing it with. It could be a number of different things. But one piece of feedback does not truth make. When you keep a journal over a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year, this is a 6-month challenge that I'm going to throw out to people that are listening today. What you're looking for is confirmations where, that feedback of when you are happiest, maybe there's some commonality to the things that you're doing that drive motivation, that drive purpose, that drive fulfillment. And there's commonality to things that you do that drive disgruntlement, that drive stress, that drive worry, that drive low self-esteem, that drive a whole bunch of things. I have met, and actually I'm probably guilty of it, I have met a lot of people who have had one voice in their life. And ironically, it's a voice maybe because they're a close family member, you're trying to win them over. And they aren't a positive voice in your life. They're reminding you of who you are not. They're reminding you of what you don't do well. They're reminding you where you screwed up. They're reminding you of all the things that are wrong in their view. Their view may not even be correct, because normally someone who is constantly bringing negative into your life has their own stuff going on and doesn't have the capacity to be a positive feedback person in your life. And a positive feedback person will give you feedback on where they think you're not strong. Don't get me wrong, just because someone tells you you're weak in an area doesn't mean that they're a negative Nelly. It's all in how you deliver it, and it's all in the balance, and it's in a bunch of things. But I've seen people live their whole life trying to please someone else. And the truth is they never will be able to. And they sacrifice their life for someone who doesn't have capacity to be a positive partner, role model in theirs. And it's sad when I see that happening. But here's the scoop. Do you know what? When you look at your journal, you start to find those things. It's gonna round out your self-esteem. It's gonna give you a profile of your self-esteem, and what your self-esteem is esteeming where you're strong and where you're weak. I said it before. All of us have our strengths and our weaknesses. Congratulations, you're human. On next week's show, we're going to focus on growing your strengths and managing your weaknesses. But as you start to see that, for a large majority of the time when I was happy, I was using my languages. And then all of a sudden I could go into my interview with Shell Canada and say, I'm just a guy that wants to use his French and use his languages in a role to find out what business is all about. You can start to be more specific about the environments that you start to put yourself into that will give you an opportunity to actually use who you are instead of forcing you to be someone you're not on a day-to-day basis just to pay the rent. It's a way better life than doing that. And when most of my journal entries of frustration, anger, low self-esteem involve construction projects, I've quickly realized that while I probably could learn to be better at construction, it's just not my gifting. And it's just one area where it's like, okay, Dave, these are not areas that you put yourself into. And even in this journal, I will tell you as a speaker, I have an authenticity. There are people that love my style, and there are people that couldn't care less for my style. It's true for all of us in what we do. We're going to have our fans and our haters. And the beautiful thing about keeping a journal and keeping attention of that, and actually the beautiful thing of the contract speaking that I did, because it wasn't greatest of pay, was that it taught me who my audience was. Because I think when you understand authenticity, success in life will come when you shout out so loudly who you are that your fans find you and your haters stay away. On a personal level, that's just starting to surround yourself with people that give you joy, give you energy. I did an interview this week, which will air in a couple of weeks' time, with Crystal Rose, the diva, the diesel diva out in Manitoba. And she talked about that transition to hanging out with people that energized her instead of drained her. And a lot of that comes from us being assertive around who we are, so that like-minded people can find us and we can find the crowd that gives us energy instead of takes it away. And that the people that we weren't meant to hang out with, it doesn't mean they're bad people. I'm not criticizing the people that don't fall into the cool crowd for you. It just means they have different strengths and weaknesses, and they have different people they should hang out to that they would energize and that would energize them. Each of our authenticities is awesome. It is no better or no worse than someone else's, but it's our unique gift that we can give. And if we choose not to give it, no one else will. It's the key to purpose. It's the key to happiness. It's the key to a bunch of things. So if I were to ask you the question, what were you born to do? And you were to honestly tell me, Dave, I don't have a clue. Two things. Take that journal and start to look back. When were the days that you were happiest? And there didn't seem to be a lot of grumpy people around you, and you didn't have to hit the snooze button. What were you doing? And the days when you have been drained, and the periods in your life when you didn't look forward to getting up in the morning, what were you doing? And as you look at confirmations, like a number of pieces that kind of tell you the similar message, it's kind of life screaming out at you about who you are and who you are not. Learn from it. Who are the people that energize you? Who are the people that don't? Sometimes we don't, none of us have the choice of who we surround ourselves with all day long. There's going to be, for all of us, people in our life that we need to learn how to manage, that we would normally not choose, but by the nature of what we do and even what we love to do, we need to work with and we need to do. I get that. But keeping a journal around how various people make you feel and what they do to you can help you make better choices intentionally around where you spend the majority of your time and the environments you choose to hang out in the future. Do you know what? Today's story with Aaron, Big Mac, you just don't know in life. And if you've been a listener to the show, you know my life. It's been unexpected. I lost my mom when I was 7. I lost my first wife when she was 30. Those aren't supposed to happen at that time. Every day is precious. Every day is precious. And so this topic of people grabbing hold of who they are and living their best life, is something that's near and dear to my heart. So I hope you enjoyed the show today. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Cheryl and Bernie Friesen. Thank you to Cheryl and Bernie for doing that as a part of today's show. I hope you enjoyed the segments from Lesko and Barjay and you learned something from them. And I hope that at least a couple of you picked up some stuff around some tools, this journal, and how to keep it, and how it can make a difference in terms of not overnight, but step by step by step by step, gradually doing more of what you love, and instead of stuff that really drags you down, both for your happiness and probably for the happiness of the people you choose to work for. So I hope you're, as I said at the beginning, I hope that the week is going to go well for you. Wishing you an awesome week on the road. Be a night on the road. I don't think they've totally gone. Some people have moaned the loss of the nights on the road, but I've met too many of you that are nights on the road. So thank you for what you do. Keep on doing that. Pour into other people. It's actually the best way to improve the quality of your own life. Make a difference to someone, even however small, on a day-to-day basis. Can you choose just to make a difference in someone's life in a small way? But do it on a daily basis, and don't be surprised if it picks you up as well. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you do. Until next week and our interview with Crystal Rose, the Diesel Diva, on all things detailing, trucking, relationships. We went all over the map, but this lady is awesome, and you're going to want to tune in and listen to the chat that we had. Keep on being awesome. We'll catch you next week. God bless. David out.